Did you know the UK passed one of the biggest digital ID laws in its history over a month ago? If you missed it, you're not alone. And that was because it was a headline for a day or two. And then nothing. Radio silence, no more debates, no big stories, no major news channels, and I only managed to find a handful of information about it. Here's what I found.
The BRIC card is going to act as a unified digital identification that every British citizen can use to access public services to prove their identity and eventually, though they won't say this part out loud, link with your banking, your health, and your travel movements. Let's also not forget that we are already seeing the slow creep of programmable money. The Bank of England is working on a digital pound and has been for a few years. And there are active conversations now about linking spending capabilities to your digital identity. That means if your ID is flagged, limited or suspended, I don't know, because maybe you said some hurty words on social media, that will mean you can't access your own money.
Why has the news disappeared about a law that could change how every person in Britain buys, sells, travels, and lives? And could this be the beginning of what Bible prophecy warns us about when it comes to buying and selling? And once something like this is introduced, won't it just pave the way for more legal restrictions and monitoring? Let's dig deep into what's really going on, why hardly anyone is talking, and why prophecy watchers are taking notice like never before. Let's break it down. On June 19th, the UK government quietly signed into law a detailed framework for digital identification. Known as the Data Use and Access Act, it establishes digital verification services as a mainstream part of daily life. And if you live in the United Kingdom, you'll soon be able to use a government-approved app on your phone to prove your identity instead of the traditional passport or license. Want to rent an apartment, buy a drink, open a bank account, or apply for a job? Your digital ID will do it all. The law creates a trust mark. If a provider is government certified, you can use them anywhere. The government claims this promotes convenience, fighting fraud, and unlocking innovation. But there's another side. With one law, the UK has set the stage for personal information, your name, age, face, even your movements, to become accessible across banks, shops, health providers, and government agencies. Fast, seamless, and if you believe the critics, potentially dangerous. Let's pause and remember why this matters to Bible students and prophecy watchers. In Revelation 13, we hear about a time when no one could buy or sell without a mark, one linked to loyalty and worship. It's a system of total control. Now let's be clear. The new digital ID law is not that mark, but here's what you do need to know. For the first time in UK history, it's no longer science fiction for the government or large corporations to gate access to everyday life, transactions, property, work behind systems they control. While the government says digital ID is optional, pressure is mounting, with many services moving to ID required. Today it's easier. Tomorrow it could be essential. The same legal framework allows for digital wallets, biometric data, even cross-border data flows, filling in the gaps for a true cashless, trackable society. Many biblical scholars argue that such steps aren't random coincidences. They're warning signs, a slow, quiet alignment of the world to a system prophesied thousands of years ago. Let's get practical. Think about how quickly digital tools have already changed your life in just a few years. Tap payments, face recognition to unlock phones, online banking. But what's next under the new digital ID law? Convenience. No more lost cards or documents. Verify your identity with one tap anywhere, from airports to alcohol sales, renting, or work application processes. Integration. Your information and more of it shared across government and business networks. Data sharing. With official approval, companies, landlords, and employers can access your digital ID data, making it harder to operate off-grid or privately. Shifting social norms. The system isn't mandatory yet, but as more services require it, opting out is tougher. You may be locked out of critical services if you choose not to participate. And it's not just the UK. The EU, US, and other major nations are moving in the same direction. interoperability, surveillance-based fraud prevention, and unified data systems. If there was ever a moment when the groundwork for complete social control was being quietly laid, this is it. Now let's address the elephant in the room. If this is such a big shift, why isn't anyone talking? Why has the media let it disappear with no major debate about privacy, faith, or freedom? Some say the rollout is just tech progress, secure, modern, and inevitable. Others see a bigger picture. Piece by piece, society is exchanging privacy and anonymity for convenience, with few realizing the prophetic implications. The silence itself is telling. Global tech and policy leaders praise digital ID. They don't address what it could mean in the wrong hands. Consider, what happens if these systems are ever used to shut down dissent, track belief, or restrict people based on their views or choices? Even as a hypothetical, you can't ignore the biblical resonance. Ask yourself, why is there no national conversation? Are we sleepwalking into a world where Revelation 13 isn't just allegory, but blueprint? To understand how bold this is, look at recent history. In China, a social credit system already links ID purchases and behaviors to access or denial of services. Across Europe, mandatory digital ID for travel and public life was justified during the pandemic, now normalized in some places. Look at Canada's emergencies laws or Australia's bank freezing, not just conspiracy, but recent examples of control when governments see emergencies. Could the UK's quiet rollout be step one in Western societies moving toward these models? If another crisis hits, terror, pandemic, economic, the infrastructure is ready. That means everyone, regardless of faith or politics, has a stake in the answer. As the prophet Daniel said, knowledge and systems would increase. Are we seeing the pieces for something bigger being quietly put into place? If you've watched this far, you know this isn't just about technology. It's about the future of how people live, worship, and speak. We're not saying the law itself is the mark, but it's a giant leap toward the systems described in prophecy, with less public conversation than any previous change in living memory. Let's be a community that doesn't just accept the silence. Drop your thoughts. Are you uneasy about the speed of these changes? Have you seen more businesses push for digital ID already? Do you think the silence is intentional or just the price of progress? Subscribe to Watcher's Wall, where we shine a light on stories others ignore, and join the conversation about the headlines and prophecies our generation cannot afford to miss. Stay awake, stay informed. You're not alone. Till next time, keep watching.